All right, let's dive right in. We're taking a deep dive into trend trading for a living, this time by Thomas K. Carr.
Oh, this one, yeah.
And I've got to say, from the excerpts you shared, it seems like you're ready to ditch the whole buy and hold approach and, maybe turn those stock charts into your own personal cash machine.
Well, Carr's not afraid to get a little personal, and I find that refreshing, actually. He starts right off by talking about his early days, and let's just say he learned some pretty tough lessons early on, kind of makes you feel better about your own mistakes.
Yeah, that story about the water purification company, the CEO, who ended up, well, basically drinking sewage. I was hooked. Talk about a masterclass in market hype gone wrong. It seems like that experience really made him rethink this whole due diligence thing.
Oh, absolutely. He went from chasing every hot tip to this incredibly methodical approach, especially with his watch lists. He's all about tilting the odds in your favor, before you even consider buying a stock.
Which is interesting, right? Because a lot of trading books, they kind of just throw all this technical stuff at you right away.
Yeah.
But Carr, he seems to get that it's about psychology, preparation, all that, maybe even more so than just the numbers.
Exactly. And that's where this her trend trading thing comes into play. Instead of trying to predict the future of some company, like you're some kind of stock market psychic or something, he's looking for the stocks that are already showing momentum. He's basically saying, ride the wave, don't try to create one out of thin air.
Which, for someone like you, and I know you're on top of all the latest market moves, that probably resonates, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not trying to outsmart Warren Buffett. You're just looking for those prime opportunities, the ones you can actually do something with.
Right, exactly. And I've got to say, this whole pre-filtering thing he's big on, it's intriguing. He's not randomly picking stocks or anything. He creates these highly curated watch lists based on very specific things he looks for: price to sales ratio, the Zacks Rank. Heck, he even talks about workarounds if your platform doesn't even use those metrics. He's thought of everything.
So it's almost like he's giving you a personalized shopping list for the stock market, tailored specifically to, your trading style. You highlighted his criteria for both his bullish and bearish scans in the notes you shared. Anything in particular standing out to you? Any filters that you're thinking, okay, this is something I need to pay more attention to?
Well, that Zacks rank is interesting, especially how much he emphasizes finding stocks with a Zacks rank of 1 or 2 for his bullish scans and a 4 or 5 for his bearish scans. It really shows how central momentum and analyst sentiment are to his whole approach, how those factor in.
And this is all before he even gets to his setups, those repeatable patterns that he looks for on stock charts, right? You flagged a few that caught your eye coiled spring. Pull back anything in particular that you're really interested in unpacking.
That coiled spring setup seems particularly relevant right now, especially in a market that's been, more range-bound lately. I'm curious to hear how he pinpoints those moments where a stock is just itching to break out.
Yeah, like spotting that tightly wound spring right before it, well, springs. But like you said before, he's not just relying on one indicator. He's looking for confirmation from the volume, moving averages, even the MACD, the whole 9 yards. This isn't just intuition. He's got a whole system.
Oh, for sure. He's all about the process. And speaking of systems, he doesn't shy away from options trading either. He sees it as a way to potentially juice your returns, especially when you're already writing a trend.
Okay, options. Now we're getting into the, shall we say, spicier side of trading. I'm guessing options aren't exactly new territory for you, but even for someone with experience, Carr seems to have some pretty strong opinions on how to approach them. Like, he's got this 2% rule. Does that resonate with how you manage your own risk?
Yeah, it's interesting, that 2% rule. I tend to be a little more, cautious with my options plays. But I do like how he emphasizes aligning your option strategy with your overall trend analysis. It's not just throwing darts at a board and hoping something sticks. You got to have a plan.
Right? So it's like options, they're the turbocharger, but you need a solid engine, your trend analysis, to really make it all work. Now, on the topic of having a solid foundation, Carr doesn't just drop all this technical stuff on you and walk away. He goes really deep on trade management, even calling it I think he called it the dividing line between amateurs and pros.
And he's not wrong. He's a big advocate for having an exit strategy in place before you even, enter a trade. Stop loss orders, profit targets. He even breaks down all the different methods you can use for each, which I know can feel a little overwhelming for some people, but I appreciate the thoroughness. What kind of stop loss strategy do you tend to use yourself?
Personally, I'm a fan of the trailing stop. Let those profits run, right, at least until the trend starts to reverse. But hey, I'm always open to refining my approach. Now, beyond just, entries and exits, Carr also digs into the psychology of trading. which you highlighted in your notes too. He seems to get that this is where a lot of traders, even the experienced ones, can really get tripped up.
For sure. He doesn't sugarcoat it, the mental side of things. He talks about fear, greed, even that tendency we all have to hold on to losing trades for way too long, hoping they'll magically turn around. I think we've all been there at some point, right? But what really resonated with me was his emphasis on having a written trading plan. Do you use one?
You know what? I do, although it's always evolving. I think that's one of the big takeaways from Carr. It's not enough to just have a plan. You got to constantly review it, adjust it as needed. But yeah, that initial commitment, that's what separates the casual traders from, well, the ones who are serious about this. And Carr with his, was it 10 habits of highly successful traders, he's definitely in that serious category.
Oh, absolutely. He's got the track record to prove it, that's for sure. And those 10 habits, they're like a roadmap, especially for anyone looking to really step up their game. I particularly like his focus on learning from your mistakes. He's all about keeping a trading journal, which I'll admit I've been a little slacking on lately. How about you? Do you find value in keeping a trading journal?
Huge value. I see it as an essential tool, like having a trading coach right there with you. Helps you track not just what happened, but more importantly, why you made those decisions. Speaking of learning, Carr's got this trick up his sleeve in this edition, the mean reversion setup. Seems like he's not afraid to try new things, even after all these years. Have you had a chance to look into that at all?
I have, and it's pretty interesting. It's a little different from his usual trend-following strategies, but the results he's gotten with it are pretty impressive. He's essentially saying that even in a market that's trending, there are still opportunities to profit from those short-term swings back to the average.
So he's always thinking, always adapting. But, for a lot of people, this whole world of technical analysis, it can feel a bit like, I don't know, deciphering ancient hieroglyphics or something. How do you approach it? And does Carr offer any insights on technical analysis that you connect with?
For me, technical analysis is like learning to read the language of the market. It's not about predicting the future with absolute certainty, but about understanding the probabilities, seeing those moments where the odds are in your favor. And I like how Carr emphasizes combining technical analysis with solid fundamental analysis. They work together.
Multi-layered approach. Makes sense. Now, one thing that really struck me about Carr was how much he focuses on the human side of trading. He dedicates a good chunk of the book to trading psychology, which you don't always see, especially from the more technically minded traders.
It's crucial, though. He hits the nail on the head when he says trading is just as much a mental game as a financial one. Having the right mindset, focusing on the process, not just the outcome, finding a way to, enjoy the challenge itself, it's all connected.
It's like he's saying, don't let the pursuit of profits kill the joy of trading. Now, speaking of finding joy, Carr takes a bit of a philosophical turn towards the end of the book. He starts talking about ethical trading, giving back to the community, which really sets him apart from those get-rich-quick types, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. This is where you really see his integrity. He's challenging all of us as traders to think about how we can use our skills, our resources, to actually make a positive difference in the world. Whether it's donating to charity, investing in companies that align with your values, or just using your financial freedom to pursue your passions and give back, it all counts.
It's a powerful message. Trading doesn't have to be the zero-sum game. You can find success in the market and make the world a better place at the same time.
Exactly. It's about finding that alignment between your financial goals and your personal values, and then using your success to create a better future for yourself and for others.
Now, before we move on to some of Carr's thoughts on the future of trading and get into the nitty-gritty of setting up your trading environment, I do want to touch on something that tends to be a bit mysterious, maybe even a little scary for some people, short selling. It's not for everyone, but Carr presents it as a useful tool when used correctly.
And he does a great job of explaining it, making it less intimidating. He lays out how it works in a way that's easy to understand, but he's also upfront about the risks. You have to be careful, do your homework, manage your risk like a hawk, and know exactly when to get out.
He's not advocating for reckless bets here, that's for sure. He's all about being strategic. Now, shifting gears a bit, Carr also gets into options trading, which he sees as a potentially very lucrative, though inherently riskier, strategy. And he shows how you can use options to enhance your existing trend trading approach. I have to say, his explanation of options was surprisingly easy to follow, even for someone who's not, an options expert.
Agreed. He takes these complex concepts, calls, puts strike prices, expiration dates, you name it, and breaks them down in a way that actually makes sense. But what's really helpful is how he ties options trading back to his core trend trading principles. He's really clear that options should be used strategically, not just thrown around randomly, and always, always as part of a well-defined trading plan.
And he even gives you concrete examples, shows you how to pick the right contracts, set appropriate strike prices and expiration dates, manage your risk effectively, even calculate the right position size.
Right, and let's not forget his 2% rule for options trading, which we talked about earlier. It's a simple rule, but it can really help you manage risk and position sizing so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Protecting your capital, always priority number one. Now, besides all the strategies, Carr also gives some great practical tips on actually setting up your trading environment. He talks about the best hardware and software, even recommends charting services. He gets that having the right setup can make a big difference.
Absolutely, and he's not afraid to give specific recommendations, which I appreciate. He's a big proponent of having a powerful desktop computer, plenty of RAM, a fast internet connection, those are essential, and he really likes having multiple monitors so you can see everything at once.
He even gets into the weeds on software, talking about both free and paid options, TradingView, Metastock, those kinds of platforms, and lays out their pros and cons. And of course, he stresses how important it is to choose a good brokerage.
Right, one that's reliable and suits your needs. He says to look for competitive commissions, access to the markets and research you need, good customer service, and strong security, all important stuff.
He even talks about margin accounts, explains the potential benefits and risks, and of course, emphasizes responsible leverage. Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive into trend trading for a living, I want to circle back to something that's clearly close to Carr's heart, this idea of ethical trading, using your skills to give back.
He's definitely passionate about that, yeah. And it comes across as genuine, not just something he tacked on. He really believes that we can use trading as a force for good, and he wants everyone to think about how they can make a positive impact.
It's about aligning your financial goals with your values, like we talked about earlier. Using your success to make a better future, not just for yourself, but for others. He even shares his own commitment to giving back, donating part of his profits to charity, and encourages everyone else to consider doing the same.
It's pretty inspiring, honestly. In a field that's often so focused on, just making money, it's refreshing to hear someone talk about using trading for a larger purpose.
He's saying, look, trading can be about so much more than just profits. It can be a path to fulfillment, a way to make a real difference, to live a more meaningful life, and that feels very much in line with his overall message.
It really is. He's got a big heart, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of looking ahead, in the last part of the book, Carr, he kind of puts on his futurologist hat and starts talking about how technology, even social trends, might change the game for traders in the years to come.
Yeah, it's like he's got this crystal ball, but instead of the future, it's showing him stock charts. From your notes, it seems like he's particularly interested in the potential of automation and like these new kinds of trading platforms that are popping up.
Yeah, definitely. He sees a future where algorithms, AI, all that, it's going to play a much bigger role, but not in a way that replaces human traders altogether. He thinks it's more about, empowering us, helping us make smarter, faster decisions. He's also really into these new platforms that are trying to democratize trading, make it more accessible to everyone.
Leveling the playing field, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which fits with that whole ethos of, giving individuals more control over their financial lives.
Exactly. But what really struck me? It was this vision he has of a future where ethical trading becomes the standard. He sees investors, being much more aware of the impact of their money, seeking out companies that actually reflect their values, using their financial power to make positive change.
It's about aligning your portfolio with your principles. Carr is making us think beyond just the bottom line. Trading is a force for good, not just for profit. Which, after spending all this time with his book, feels very much in line with his overall message, wouldn't you say?
Without a doubt. He's not just giving us tools and techniques. He's challenging us to rethink what trading can be. It can be a path to financial success, absolutely, but also personal growth, a more fulfilling life. It's about the whole package.
Well said. And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into trend trading for a living by Thomas K. Carr. We've explored his approach to trend trading, his insights on trade management and psychology, his thoughts on the future of trading, and of course, his inspiring vision of ethical trading.
We covered a lot, from the nitty-gritty of charts and indicators to these bigger questions of, purpose and impact. It's been great.
Hopefully everyone listening is walking away not just with, a head full of trading knowledge, but also with that spark of excitement, that sense of purpose for their own trading journey.
Absolutely. And remember, like Carr says, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's about constantly learning, adapting, finding what works for you.
And most importantly, it's about aligning your trading with your values, using your skills to create the life you want.
Keep learning, keep growing, and trade with purpose. Who knows, maybe one day we'll be featuring your trading story right here on the show.
I like the sound of that. Until next time, happy trading, everyone.